So one movie for 2027. Yes, I'm looking a year ahead for this one. One movie I've been really excited about is the thought of Mike Flanagan's Exorcist film. Remember, Universal and Blumhouse paid for the rights for 3 movies. They initially wanted to do a whole trilogy, but Believer kind of ruined that. So they basically ran to Mike Flanagan, went, Mr. Flanagan, we messed up. We wanted to look cool, but we messed up bad. It's literally like, okay, Mike, we messed up bad. We messed up real bad. So Mike Flanagan took pity on them as the horror god that he is and went, I will save you. Now, I will say this. I don't know if he's doing... Remember, they still have the rights to do 2 more movies. So I don't know if he's just doing one or doing both. Because I've heard 2 different things. I've heard the suggestion that if this movie does well, he'll do the other, but I don't know because Flanagan is doing a remake of The Mist. He's still doing his Carrie TV show, which I think comes out later this year. He's also still doing The Dark Tower for Amazon, and I think he's not directing Clayface. He just wrote the script, so that's already done. Carrie is done, but I think if that season does well, they'll probably do another season. Unless I can't remember if that's a miniseries or ongoing. I don't know. But point being, dude's busy with literally like anything Stephen King. So I would imagine that Flanagan's film is either going to go a few ways. Option 1, he does this movie and then it does well enough, he does a second film. Or this could be the case too, where he just does this one movie and treats it like a one and done film, and then he goes off to do his other stuff, and someone else will direct the third movie. Possibly, I actually kind of like. This is going to sound weird, but I kind of like the idea more of the third movie for these for Exorcist films to be directed by a totally different director. Like, I kind of like that idea of a whole trilogy of different Exorcist films that don't really have a lot of connection to each other and are more or less just kind of like stories within this universe and done by different horror directors. We have the really bad one. We have the hopefully, as much as I love Flanagan, there's always that chance movies could still suck. Like, let's be real. We have the really awesome movie, and then we have someone else from another director, whether that be Radio Silence or Lee Cronin. Honestly, I'm surprised Lee Cronin wasn't approached for this film because half of his movies are just Evil Dead / Yeah, let's just be real. Like, I would actually not be opposed to a Lee Cronin Exorcist film because look at his Mummy movie, by the way, or look at his other film, Hole in the Wall. Not Evil Dead Rise, his other film, Hole in the Ground. It's straight up just Exorcist, okay? So Lee Cronin, I actually like that more of like giving different kind of like what Sam Raimi does with different horror, like these up and coming indie horror directors, and lets them direct an Evil Dead movie. Like, again, with Lee Cronin and Evil Dead Rise. So that would be kind of cool for Universal and Blumhouse. They're never going to do it because, God forbid, Jason Blum have any fucking integrity as a creator. I've made it no secret that Blumhouse and I just do not get along. I don't vibe with current Blumhouse. It feels like late stage. It really just feels like late stage Hammer horror, where it's just cranking out quantity over quality. But I think that would be a neat idea. Rather than that way, Flanagan can do other projects, and also you can give another great horror director or an up and coming horror director a chance at a massive franchise. It's a little intimidating, I admit, but I think if you find the right people, you can do it. Like, again, Lee Cronin, I think, would be good. Radio Silence, I feel like their style of direction would not gel with an Exorcist movie. I was just throwing out names like as examples. I would say the director of Oddity would be... Actually, yeah. Now that I think... Yeah. The director of Oddity would be actually a really solid pick. And Caveat. They did both of those films. And I'm not a fan of art house movies, but those were really good, and I would like to see an Exorcist film from them. I would also say Daniel Rubna, who would be, oh my god, Rugna would do so good on an Exorcist movie. Oh my god. And for those who don't know who Daniel Rugna is a director from Brazil, and he's done two really good horror movies, Terrified and When Evil Lurks. Go watch those on Shudder. They are great. Like, I would actually love to see an Exorcist film set in Brazil, have him direct it, because again, those movies are great. And I think When Evil Lurks really kind of plays with the whole tests of faith and things like that. So if we could get Rugna to do if we could honestly get Rugna to do a Exorcist movie, I'd be down. I'd be so down for it. I would also say, like, for other horror directors, I'd probably be like, you see, I like Radio Science, but I don't think their style of horror would not gel with it, and I think they're way better doing The Mummy. Yeah, Rugna really comes to mind. Lee Cronin. Again, I have my reservations about his Mummy movie, but if you gave him Exorcist, I'd have been way better. I'd been way better off. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. The whole point of this video, we're almost 7 minutes in. Let's talk about the actual point of this video. Is basically, what are my hopes for the Exorcist movie? Like, what are my hopes for the next Exorcist movie? Because while I do trust Flanagan to give us a engaging story and a great horror story, the dude is really good at mixing drama with horror. And I'm not talking just his Stephen King stuff like Gerald's Game, and I think his greatest piece of work, Dr. Sleep. The big thing is that the dude knows how to do, talking about using multiple characters for these stories. And it's so crazy, too, because now we have Scarlett Johansson. Scarlett Johansson was the first big cast of this movie. Now we have John Leguizamo, and I think Chiwetel Ejiofor. God, I cannot pronounce his name. You guys would know him best as Mordo from the Doctor Strange movies. I cannot pronounce his name. I apologize. But we also have a lot of, like, this is going to be a big cast of a lot of characters. They announced 11 character actors for this film, all of them from Flanagan's wheelhouse. Although I will say, I did not see Bruce Greenwood. Bruce Greenwood is in, like, every Mike Flanagan movie. He's not here. Although Jason did, when he sent me Jason Voorhees 2011, when he sent me that information, he did say maybe it's a cameo, like in how they didn't really credit him in Dr. Sleep. And I was like, okay, I think he will probably be in this movie, but I'm shocked he wasn't in the casting. Anyway, so my hopes for this Exorcist movie is really, I really hope that this movie kind of and again, this plays to Flanagan's. I think another reason why I'm okay with Flanagan doing Exorcist is not just because it's Mike freaking Flanagan. It's because if you watched his show Midnight Mass, if you watch that TV show Midnight Mass, it while it is more like a Salem's Lot tribute, it actually plays a lot with, themes of religion, characters losing or questioning their religion, the power of God and their relation to humanity, and also this overwhelming evil as well. So if you watch Midnight Mass, the dude is real. Like, you watch that and go, oh yeah, he's got Exorcist, yeah. So I hope for that. Again, this movie could suck. Like, I'm not gonna I will give Mike Flanagan, because his body of work is amazing, but I will also say that every creator has their black marks. I just don't want it to be Mike Flanagan to have Exorcist, because I feel like if he and I'm not trying to put this out in the universe, but like if he blows Exorcist, that might be a dent in his career. Like, that might be like a genuine, like, oh shit. Because if you fuck what's David Gordon Green doing after Exorcist Believer? Oh, fuck all? Yeah. So Exorcist is not just in the horror community a spectacular, a important piece of cinema. It's an important piece of cinema. If you fuck with that, I believe, like, movie studios are going to look at you and go, nay. despite Flanagan's body of work already proving I will give now Devil's Advocate. Funny enough, I do think even if this movie is not great, or or it's just not one of his better movies, I do think Flanagan's body of work is still good enough to come back from this. But it's gonna be again, it's Exorcist. It is a important piece of cinema history, not just for the horror community, but I'm talking cinema in general. So the dude is gonna have an uphill battle no matter what. Like, that's gonna be it's just gonna be a fight for him, really, if he fails at this, which I don't think he will, but again, you always have to you always have that thing in the back of your head of like, what if it sucks? But yeah, this also, again, looks like a really big cast of a film, and we don't know anything about the story. Again, John Leguizamo, Chiwetel Ejiofor, Scarlett Johansson, and then all these other minor characters in here. I'm wondering how much of this is going to play into of how much is this going to reference Believer, because we have no characters coming back from Exorcist Believer, like absolutely fuck all, which I'm actually kind of like the ending, which Exorcist Believer sucks, but I will say it's kind of a good thing that they didn't they ended it in such a way where it doesn't feel like it's a cliffhanger. Yes, one of the kids' souls go to hell, but like it ends in such a way that it doesn't leave on a real cliffhanger. It doesn't leave on like a solid 100%, oh my god, this is a cliffhanger kind of thing, and get ready for the rest of the trilogy. So Flanagan can really just do whatever. That's what I appreciate about Exorcist Believer, is that while it was set up for a trilogy, the ending is such a way where it's like it doesn't need to be continued, and it shouldn't. But I wonder if they will reference anything. I wonder if that's like in a stipulation in the contract where they have to at least mention Believer. But who knows? I still say, by the way, that as bad as Exorcist Believer is, and it is ungodly awful, it's not Exorcist 2. Exorcist 2, The Heretic, is still Exorcist Believer is just marginally like more competent as a film than Exorcist 2, The Heretic. Okay? If you say that Exorcist Believer, and I've said this before, if you say Exorcist Believer Exorcist Believer is better than The Heretic, I will call you a fucking liar to your face. Because that whole film is at least Exorcist Believer is a competently made film for the most part. Exorcist 2, The Heretic is a hodgepodge of coked out ideas that are shambled together to make a movie, and I can barely call it that, if I'm being honest. Like, I can barely register that film to even call it a movie. Yeah, that's my, that's kind of my biggest thing here, is that this movie, at least it can be Flanagan's own vision. And again, I think it would be kind of a neat idea, rather than make it like, oh, get ready for part 2, in this franchise. Just let them be one and done. Like, that would be kind of a neat idea. Despite as bad Believer is, it would be kind of a cool idea to have like Exorcist by Mike, this Exorcist film done by Mike Flanagan, and then make it Flanagan's film can be one and done. It doesn't have to be like contractually connected to another film, and then Universal and Blumhouse can just go, all right, let's find another good horror director and give them a go. And I do stress, like, find I'm not saying give it to like the director of Megan, or the director of Five Nights at Freddy's. But knowing Jason Blum and his cheap ass, he'd probably pick the director of Five Nights or Megan, or God forbid that stupid haunted pool movie or Imaginary, just for cheap. No, like, you want to make this a cool, you want to make this like a strong, end this on a strong note. Give it to like a notable horror director, or a really popular indie horror director who has a pretty good form of work. Again, I stress, as much as I'm worried about the Mummy movie, Lee Cronin would actually be a really solid pick for The Exorcist, because you see a lot of Exorcist in his films, even a little bit in Evil Dead. Daniel Rugna, the more I think about it, Rugna would actually be the best pick. If I am, and also to have it like an Exorcist film set in Brazil, it'd be kind of cool. But yeah, so I'm rambling. I just, after the recent new casting announcements for this film, I was just kind of like, I want to talk about Mike Flanagan. I want to gush about Mike Flanagan's Exorcist and be like, please be good. So there you go, guys. You guys tell me in the comments below what you guys think of all this. Do you guys think there should be a there should be like it should be a duology, a Mike Flanagan duology, or do you like the idea better of a horror director, a different horror director doing a completely different standalone film? And which horror director would you like to see do that? Just comment below, let me know. Other than that, I don't know what this video is about. I had a solid idea and then I just rambled. Anyway, so once again, hope you all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.